Tonight, Palestinian authorities' demands in the spotlight in exchange for Saudi-Israeli normalisation. And why are US-trained military personnel behind coups in Africa? We cover stories about alleged arms talks between Russia and North Korea, the future expansion of the EU, and how a coup in Gabon can harm French interests. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I am Catherine Bullock. The Palestinian Authority has put forward a set of demands to Saudi Arabia in exchange for its support of Saudi-Israeli normalization. Media sources report that Palestine is demanding status changes to areas of the West Bank, which are presently considered Area C. The area is controlled by the Israeli military and is currently off limits to Palestinian residents. Palestinian officials want these areas to be listed as Area B. Area B are areas under Israeli security control, but where the civilian administration is handled by the Palestinian Authority. Other demands include the opening of a Saudi consulate in Jerusalem and a clear timetable for final status negotiations with Israel. A senior advisor for the Palestinian Authority gave the Saudis a list of deliverables 3 months ago. It seems that Saudi officials are considering resuming financial aid to the Palestinian Authority in order to curry support for their normalization efforts with Israel. Riyadh stopped its aid to the Palestinian Authority in 2019 on an allegation that Palestinian officials were unable to prevent corruption. Saudi Arabia has long been expected to join a growing list of Arab states normalizing their relations with Israel. But Riyadh has been reluctant to proceed without gaining concessions from the Israelis in return. Saudi officials have stated that normalization would only be possible with the creation of an independent Palestinian state. However, media reports suggest this is no longer a non-negotiable demand. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has strongly condemned normalization agreements, calling them a, quote, betrayal. A US representative wants the US to find out how many of the military personnel it has trained in West Africa and the Sahel region have conducted coups since their training. To this end, Representative Matt Gaetz has introduced an amendment to the 2024 Defense Spending Bill. Its purpose is to collect information about trainees involved in coup attempts against their governments. Gaetz says that the Department of Defense has not previously kept records about individuals they trained who participated in coups. The amendment, a part of the National Defense Authorization Act, would require data collection and reporting to Congress on such cases. Investigations by The Intercept have unveiled that at least 15 officers benefiting from US security assistance have been engaged in 12 coups across the region. Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, and Niger, among others. Gaetz is challenging the lack of tracking by the US Africa Command and its failure to hold those misusing their training accountable. Gaetz's approved amendment demands the Defense Secretary provide a report detailing partner countries whose military forces participated in security cooperation or received assistance. It seeks to compel the Pentagon to disclose instances since 2000 where US-trained foreign military forces were linked to coup attempts or actions against democratically elected governments. Gaetz is looking for further discussions after Labor Day to achieve a consensus bill that satisfies both the Democratic Senate and the Republican House. Just Foreign Policy's Eric Sperling welcomed Gaetz' moves. Sperling compares training Africans to the history of the School of the Americas that trained officers later involved in anti-democratic actions in Latin America. He emphasizes that recent events demonstrate this problem extends beyond the Western Hemisphere. The White House alleges that Russia and North Korea are actively advancing shadowy arms negotiations. The comments come after Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu's visit in July to the reclusive nation. US intelligence suggests that Shoigu appealed to Pyongyang to provide the Kremlin with artillery ammunition. Shoigu's visit was followed by an exchange of letters between Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, in which they pledged to increase cooperation. The White House says an additional delegation of Russian officials traveled to North Korea to continue talks. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says the high-level discussion may continue in coming months. Kirby alleges the Kremlin is also seeking to purchase raw materials to bolster its heavily sanctioned defense industrial base. He says any deals between Moscow and Pyongyang would directly violate a number of UN Security Council resolutions. Kirby says the US is monitoring the situation closely. He is calling on Pyongyang to cease negotiations with Russia. Kirby says the US is taking direct action by sanctioning individuals and entities facilitating the arms deals. The White House said in December that Russia's Wagner private military group had received an arms shipment from North Korea. The White House later said in March that Russia was seeking to broker a food for arms scheme with Pyongyang. For more on allegations that a US clinic hastily administered cross-sex drugs on minors, stay tuned. The European Union is preparing to expand by admitting new members. The news comes after European Council President Charles Michel said Monday the EU's preparation for the admission of new member states must be ready by 2030. Michel was addressing a forum in Slovenia. He called the enlargement efforts ambitious and imperative. 6 Western Balkan states are currently in various stages of the membership process. These are Albania, Bosnia, Kosovo, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Serbia. Last year, Moldova and Ukraine were granted candidate status, while Georgia awaits a similar status. Michel underlined that prospective member states must institute reforms ensuring an independent judiciary and combating organized crime and corruption. He also called for these states to align their foreign policies with those of EU member states in order to join the bloc. He said that historic conflicts should not be carried into the European Union, and aspiring nations must resolve bilateral conflicts. The topic of enlargement will be a focal point of discussion at the upcoming European Council meeting. The European Commission's enlargement package is anticipated in October. Analysts say the recent military coup in Gabon is expected to have significant repercussions on the country's relationship with its former colonial power, France. They say the coup will affect French economic and military interests in the broader region. The coup took place shortly after the controversial re-election of President Ali Bongo Ondimba, marking his disputed third term amid allegations of irregularities. Gabon's historical ties with France have played a pivotal role in shaping its political landscape. Ali Bongo's presidency had fostered close cooperation between the two nations, making Gabon a loyal ally to French policies. This relationship has occasionally led to perceptions of French interference in Gabonese affairs. The coup coincides with growing anti-French sentiments both in Gabon and the wider region, posing potential risks to French interests. As a member of the Economic Community of West African States, Gabon's shift away from France could impact French businesses, particularly in the mining sector. This could lead to economic consequences for both nations. Analysts suggest that dissatisfaction with Bongo's extended rule, concerns over electoral integrity, and frustration over transparency issues might have contributed to the coup. This event underscores broader challenges in African democracies, where weak institutions, ethnic tensions, and economic disparities often lead to contested elections. A gender clinic in Missouri, US is facing scrutiny over allegations of hastily administering hormone drugs to minor patients, especially amid rising demand. The clinic's practices were exposed in a New York Times article that details claims made by a whistleblower at the Washington University Transgender Center at St. Louis Children's Hospital. The former case manager, Jamie Reed, says that the clinic prematurely provides puberty-blocking drugs and cross-sex hormones to minors without adequate counseling. The university's investigation, however, concluded that the allegations lacked substantial evidence. Reed's concerns arose in 2019, prompted by a detransitioner's regret over past decisions. Patient numbers surged in 2020 as youth coped with pandemic-related psychological issues. Emails from 2021 document a significant rise in new patients, approximately 73% being girls. As patient numbers increased, the clinic engaged external therapists to assess a child's eligibility for hormone treatments. Worries emerged about insufficient mandatory counselling for those continuing hormone regimens. Reed and a colleague established a red flag list to track patient outcomes due to the clinic's lack of proper tracking mechanisms. The list comprised patients with intricate psychiatric diagnoses, evolving gender identities, and complex family dynamics. They found at least 16 patients detransitioning. Staff concerns about a growing number of trans-identifying patients facing mental health challenges were reported to the university administration. The clinic denies the allegations. There is growing recognition of potential long-term negative effects on children of cross-sex hormones and puberty blockers. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Sound Vision, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.